I'm Chris Mcdonough, a retired homicide detective. I've interviewed thousands of people, from serial killers to ministers. Welcome to the interview room. Aloha, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to the interview room. Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day, everybody. Happy Father's Day to you,
Thank
sweetheart.
you, sweetheart.
We hope all the dads and grandpas out there having a wonderful day.
Yep. And we know that was heavy on this day, obviously. And, you know, we hope we approach that with much respect for the children in this particular case. So I'm grateful for this day. I'm grateful for my sweetheart and the fact that she's, you know, going to be here with me. We want to give, you know, some answers to some questions that folks have been, you know, putting up and things about what we want to talk about while we went up there and what our observations were. There was a lot of other stuff that we couldn't get into the whole program as a whole, but before we jump into it, I have a really special shout out to my family back in Boston. So I want to say hi to Jimmy. Whoops, hang on for a second. I just lost my, I just pressed the wrong button. I want to say hi to all my cousins up there, Jimmy, Lisa, Shane, Dan, Riley, and then Diane, Allie, Joel, Robbie, and Bob. Love you guys. Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Good shout out for you folks up there. And then all of our mods.
A huge thank you to all of our mods. You ladies are fantastic. We couldn't do this without you. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
We also want to welcome our members, our new members. Thank everybody for being here. We're grateful. We're grateful that you're along for the journey. And we appreciate everything that you guys do for us and the support and the likes and the shares and the comments and your chats and your questions. We see it all and we are just so grateful.
Yeah, we're very thankful. Miss Sophia, Melissa, Four Sons Mom, Crystal G, Maui Girl, all
Mimi,
of you.
J2,
and, yeah,
Melissa.
Yeah, we love you all. And thank you for everything you're doing. As you can tell, this is beauty. And that makes me the beast. So,
okay.
Anyway, Aunt Bitsy, my Aunt Bitsy, we love you, Aunt Bitsy.
Love you, Aunt Bitsy.
A shout out to my Aunt Bitsy. So let's have a serious discussion on this one tonight. I think, you know, honey, I mean, we went to Yellowstone.
Well, we went back, obviously, to Idaho and the whole area that the CHAD DAYBELL, VALLOW DAYBELL case unfolded and occurred. And I think for us, the start of it was when we went to Yellowstone National Park to film part of what you saw in the video. And, you know, we were blown away. If y'all haven't been to that beautiful national park of ours, just the beauty of it is stunning. I mean, the setting, many of you know, you've been there. You know, you've got this incredible, gorgeous wildlife, nature, landscape, bison roaming, elk, you know, the streams, of course, Old Faithful and all the geysers. I mean, this is just spectacular area.
Yeah.
And what a contrast to know that we were there filming, following in the footsteps of Alex Cox, Lori Vallow, who brought Ty Lee and JJ. And there was such a contrast going on of the stunning beauty going on in Yellowstone and knowing what was unfolding in their minds and in their plan and in how this whole story takes shape. What was your thought?
Yeah,
What were some of your thoughts when we were there?
No, that was well put, because I think, for me, my first impression obviously was, what was the thought process that went into selecting, such an iconic location. And obviously, she had just moved from, Arizona after, killing Charles. So she had to get out of town pretty quick there. And by the way, if you guys remember, months ago, I had $100 bingo card on Charles, Vallow, and that Chandler is going to come through for us over there on that one, because there's no question in my mind that she whacked him too. But that's another case, and we'll talk about that later on. But when you come into this national park, and then you have to think of the thought process where what they're going through. I mean, they're going into the national park not to see, the beauty of the national park, but to lay a foundation towards this evil process or this evil plot that's already in motion with these children.
And it was about an hour and 20-minute drive to get there.
Yeah.
This wasn't just down the street from where they were. So again, to your point of what their thought process was, taking this drive, knowing what was going on, makes it even more just dubious beyond belief. Yeah,
and I see some, Vicky Parsons says, it looked like a front. Yeah, we totally agree with you. I think, she's laying the foundation, and this is one of the reasons why we wanted to do this particular video feature, is because we really want to show that in order for her, to manipulate the system as well, and also see how, he's capable of hoodwinking everybody. I had an opportunity years ago, many years ago. I interviewed Wesley Allen Dodd on death row, and he was a serial child killer. And long story short, what he told me has always stuck with me. It was very profound. And what he mentioned was that he learned every time he went in to talk to a psychologist about how to manipulate the psychologist. And then ultimately, he took the lives of children up in, Washington State. And they caught him and put him on death row at Walla Walla State Prison. And that's where I interviewed him. So I had that in the back of my mind, and I'm thinking, okay, well, Lori's gone through this drill a couple of times. She's got an attorney now who, there's enough shows on him, and I'll let other people weigh in on what Means is doing. Part of what he's doing is his job. The other part of it, quite frankly, he doesn't know what he's doing. I can tell you that our going into this community, and I had an opportunity to get some firsthand information by talking to some people who grew up in that community from birth, and they're still there today. And so the DA there, Melissa, she's a sharp woman. And then, of course, over on the other side, for the other county, there are a couple of counties involved, as we know. These are very experienced folks. But where this thing goes down in St. Anthony, and then obviously where Chad lives out there in Salem, they'd never seen anything like this ever.
And, this really, in going there and talking to people, this story has turned that community upside down in many ways. Now, what's interesting, on the surface, you might not see that driving in, but when you go anywhere in town or talk to anybody, any of the locals, they'll all talk to you. We got to talk with a couple of the neighbors, as you saw in the video, and it's such a crazy story to begin with that it's hard to digest, no matter where you live in the United States or around the world. And yet for people to have it in their quiet, small town is, really beyond unsettling. And, that was one of the things that we wanted to bring out, is just to show the town, the area. And we can talk about the Daybell property too. And some surprising aspects of that are when you get there and when you see it.
Yeah. And Krisha, I know you're here. Karen and I are aware of you. And so we want to just, send our love to you and to your family. I'm reading one of the chat pieces going by here. We know that the children haven't been, it sounds like, been released back to you yet, to your family. So what, I want to be, very sensitive to what you folks are going through, but at the same time, I want to also be, quite frank that, we're going to talk about Lori and Chad, and I just don't think the elevator went to the top floor, but it doesn't mean they're insane, and it doesn't mean that they didn't manipulate everything in their favor to take the lives of not only the children but other folks in front of Lori. So let's talk about honey, what was it in the garage locations? I mean, one of the things that we wanted to do, as you saw in the video, and if you haven't had a chance to go see it after this, live, go back and take a look at it. But one of the things we had a question was, could they get the children out of either 107 or 175, if that was a particular crime scene? What struck you?
Yeah, that was one of the surprising things. I don't know if I've ever seen the backside of Lori's apartment, number 175, where it shows the garage. And the garage leads out to kind of that alley, as you saw, and you could easily get in and out of the apartment complex through there. So that really is an indication that anything could have gone on in that garage, whether it was at Lori's house or down at Lori's apartment or Alex's apartment, which was, as you saw, close by, walking distance, a super quick drive down that alley to get there too. He had the same setup in his. He's had the garage as well.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. So that was kind of surprising. It put a few questions in our head, like, okay, right now we don't know all the details. Obviously, when the trial occurs, we will hear more. Yep. But that was really interesting. That was surprising to us, just how her apartment in that garage was set up to that back alley. And, you could come in, garage closes, you're in that apartment and nobody can see you.
Yeah. Once you put that garage down, we saw, in fact, I went and I talked to some other people at the complex, at the garages, and they were pulling their cars in. And, you can clearly see, once that garage is down, that they've got a straight shot into that house through the kitchen. And we actually had an opportunity to go into one of them, but we didn't want to, disrupt some of the folks that were there. So I apologize for that. But at the same time.
And by the way, this is probably not new or surprising, but that apartment complex wasted no time re-renting each of those apartments to other people, new families, unsuspecting people.
Yeah.
So we thought, okay,
I put that girl in shock, didn't I?
Yeah.
I knocked on one.
I didn't mean to.
The poor gal in 175 didn't even know that that was Lori's apartment. And we cut that out of the video, to be honest with you, because we wanted to be respectful of her. But, they rented those apartments out like that. And now that was the other thing about those two apartments in the garage. So the question was, could they get the children out? I'm here to tell you what I saw, and honey, I mean, you tell me what you think, but from what I saw and from my experience, absolutely 100%. Hypothetically, on the drive back, if Ty Lee, who was the first victim, within 15 hours of them returning, okay, she could have been injured and or her life taken either on the drive back. If JJ hypothetically was asleep, she could have been injured there. She could have been injured in the house, either Chad's or Lori's, or he could have, taken her off site later on. But either way, they could have got them out of those apartments.
And this is not speculation. We are just saying what is common sense looking at the place.
Thank you.
And of course, we don't know and won't know until more information is revealed during the trial.
Yeah. Thank you, Krisha.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
But we thought that was an important detail to bring out.
So I'm going to go on the record thinking that either one of those apartments is still in play here as a crime scene. And the reason I say that is twofold. Number one, thank you, Anna. And number one is what we learned from the neighbors was that they ran cadaver dogs through those apartments. And so that told me and told Karen that, yes, these apartments were in play for thinking that the children may have been injured there. The second piece of that is the other gal that we talked to, you see the one sitting in the chair, she mentioned that both the FBI evidence response teams and Rexburg response teams, evidence collections, process both of those apartments. So we'll see if there's going to be anything in play there come the trial. Now, the other thing that was really striking, and honey, you tell me what you're thinking here, because you were kind of the one that brought it up, was the fact that she's making all three of them show up the day she moves in. Chad's there. Thank you, Heather. Chad is there helping her move in. Okay?
So we've got Lori at the apartment. Of course, it's her apartment. We've got her brother, Alex, who is there with her. And most recently from the neighbors, Chad was there helping Lori move in. Now I find also something interesting, very interesting from the affidavit. Affidavit says that Lori Vallow lived in that apartment with both kids, with JJ and with Ty Lee.
And what do we hear?
Well, we heard from the neighbors who saw Lori, who saw everybody there, who saw all of them.
She lives across the way, by the way. So when you see the video of JJ in the going across on the doorbell video, she lives next door. So she was daily, and she's been interviewed by the FBI a bunch of times, but
her child played.
Her daughter played with
JJ. JJ would often ring her doorbell, asking if her daughter could come out and play. So she and JJ played in her home as well. She told us as well. So these neighbors never saw Ty Lee once.
Not once.
Not once. And again, the affidavit says that Ty Lee and JJ both lived with Lori at that apartment. We found it striking that the neighbors never saw Ty Lee. Our question is, everybody's question would be, so where was she?
Where was she?
Where was she?
Yeah.
Where did Lori have Ty Lee? Where was she?
Yeah, and that was, a big takeaway for us as we were talking to them was, well, wait a minute. Now we know the story, obviously, that she had, been registered at the university nearby.
Well, she wasn't registered.
Well, that was the cover story.
That was the cover story.
That's
right.
Okay? That she, the cover story is that, she had gone to the university nearby, but, there were a couple of problems with that. Obviously, her age. Obviously, the second piece of that puzzle is they checked with the university, and the university said, no, she's not here. Okay. Now we have the neighbors who are saying we never saw her. Okay? So we have to think that then, okay, well, what happened to Ty Lee? And we have a sequence of when she was last seen in Yellowstone, and that's why it was so important for us to go up there to get the amount of time it took from Yellowstone to Rexburg was approximately 1 hour and 16, 120, depends on the traffic flow, but it's a real, quick shot down. And then you have 17 minutes where they stopped at that ice cream parlor, by the way. It's not only, it's called a barbecue in the affidavit, but it's more known for ice cream. Go ahead.
No,
what were we going to say?
Keep going.
Okay. And so I thought it was really interesting that they selected that place. Okay, but back at the apartment now, we have evidence of, witness saying, I never saw her. She wasn't. In fact, both of them simultaneously said it. And when you go back and listen to them again, and the children were making a little noise, but we love those little ones, and we didn't want to disrupt them. But they were making some, both of those young ladies said, no, we never saw her ever, and which was really striking. Now, about Melanie, we asked her, had you seen Lori's cousin, Lori's niece, nearby? And both of those and others that we talked to had not seen her in the complex as well. So we kind of left that there, and we did not dive into that any further. But I'm sure we'll find that piece of the puzzle out in coming court. So what else was striking to you, hon, that I may have missed?
Well, we could talk about the Daybell property and being out there.
Before we do that, let's go to Tammy's school. Hey, so okay. One of the things that also was striking for us is within 1/10 of a mile was Madison Elementary School.
So let's back up a minute.
Yep.
So Tammy Daybell, as we know, worked in 2 schools. She was a librarian. So this is Chad's wife, his first wife, Tammy.
Thank you, Kimberly.
She worked at Madison Middle School as a librarian. And then she worked at elementary school. And the name of that elementary school is escaping me right now. I apologize. But
Madison Elementary. Oh, the other school.
Madison Middle.
Yeah.
And the other one.
It's in.
Right. And so this is over the course of their time when they moved to Salem, Idaho. She worked at these 2 different schools. Well, Madison Middle School happens to be spitting distance, if that, from Lori Vallow's apartment.
Yep. I mean, you can see Lori's apartment complex, or the start of the apartment complexes, from the old school where Chad's wife, Tammy, worked. Okay. Now, why is that significant? In my opinion, this gives Chad cover fire. Okay. Hypothetically, this area, okay, he's a well-known, writer of books. People may or may not recognize him. It all depends. He'd only been there 4 years in Salem area, okay, but where he was in Rexburg, where Lori's apartment is, he's well known there. Okay, so if he got busted, for lack of a better term, over at Lori's apartment, he could really play it off that no, I was over at the school where Tammy used to work. And so we thought that was pretty interesting, how it was within, shooting distance. It literally, you could see it. And so that, again, goes towards, I think, some of the planning of how these pieces of this puzzle have come together here. So I wanted to point that out to everybody. So when you get an understanding of, he was covering his tracks, not only just having an affair, but he was playing it, I think, as far as he could get it. And that apartment complex was not selected by accident, in my opinion. So now we can go to the storage unit.
Oh, we can talk about the storage unit. Yes. Mm-hmm. So you saw in the video, we took you to the storage unit where you see the video. It's out there, where they were recorded on the surveillance footage. Chad and Lori and Alex, Chad and Lori putting the items in, and then Lori and Alex taking items out.
Yep. And
tell them what your impression was when you saw that. And by the way, we should say, when you go back and look at that, it's surveillance footage, so you cannot see their faces. You can see their shadows. You can make out that it looks like them, but it's not super clear footage of them. And so I think there was some speculation of who exactly was at that storage unit with Lori.
Yeah, well, and there's two clues, I think, that connect the two personalities. The first clue is Chad rolls the tire in, okay? And when they also, Lori and it looks like Chad carrying the seat in, and that's probably the seat to the Jeep. And, you know, I had some questions the other day about whether or not you could see, you know, what appeared to be, you know, maybe, you know, a foot or something to that effect. I'm not convinced of that. It could have been the head deal.
The headrest?
The headrest, yeah.
Not a head, but the headrest.
The headrest.
Okay, let's be clear.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Thank you. And so, but where I'm convinced it's Chad is on their way out. He reaches down with his left hand and he pats Lori on the tush. Okay? Now, Alex wouldn't do that. And that's his sister. Okay, at least you hope. I'm not going to say he wouldn't have. Maybe I shouldn't have gone that far. But in this particular scenario, I'm going to say that it is definitely Chad. And now that also then took me to another place up here as a experienced homicide guy. Okay, his focus, okay, is sexual in nature.
Tell us what you mean by that.
Okay, so my expertise is sexual deviant behavior. Okay? So the whole mind you now, they're killing people. Okay, and what does he do during the process of loading some of the stuffs, the items, okay, in this journey for him
that belong to the children?
Belong to the children, right?
Who were missing first.
Right. So he seals the deal by his left hand by patting her tush. Okay. Now, he's still married to Tammy at this point. So up here, what we see here in the public persona, okay, is this guy who, you know, projects himself as, you know, whatever, Mr. Goody Two Shoes. Okay. But in the secret life, remember, where all crime and all major evil and sin is committed, he's driven by sex. Okay. And now you add the other component for Lori. Okay. And we're going to let the doctor sort all that out. Okay. But you add the other component for her. What's her drive? Okay. Well, it's financial gain. Okay. So this idea of these two, you know, emotional drives, okay, coming together, okay, is just a powder keg. It's just an absolute powder keg. Okay. And so then you tie in some of the religious aspects of it, and, you know, you get to the zombie aspects and all the other cuckoo stuff. And then, you know, we really have to start asking ourselves, okay, well, if Chad is more interested in not only, you know, driving the narrative, and remember, it's Chad who introduces the concept of zombies to Lori. Okay. So why is he doing that? Okay. Well, that's a manipulation and control technique, right? You know, he's a narcissist, right? And he's an evil narcissist, by the way, not just somebody who's looking in the mirror saying, "Look at me." This guy's on a track, you know, that he's going to set the bar pretty high on this particular case. So the storage unit was really significant, even though it appears insignificant. And go back and watch the video, and I put it in our last video. You see him as he's walking out, pat her on the rear. Okay, that's his sexual drive speaking in a public forum. Okay, so while everybody was focused on the items being moved, I was focused on Chad and what he was doing. And then, of course, you see the second time Alex come in. The second piece of that is what the neighbor said. The neighbor said she went by the garage of 107 and there were all these boxes in the garage, and she couldn't say for sure that it was Alex, but she told the FBI there was a guy in there with a ball cap. Okay? Now you go back and look at the surveillance footage, who's wearing a ball cap, okay, at the storage facility, and they're unloading items. Okay? Well, that's Alex. Okay? Now, is that Alex in the garage? I don't know.
Well, the neighbor said she saw the garage crammed with so many things, and she saw a male figure with wearing a baseball cap.
Yep.
And then the very next day, she said everything out of that garage was gone.
Yep. Yeah, the next day, everything was gone. So we thought that was pretty interesting. Okay, so let's go towards what the neighbors thought after seeing her and then catching all of this. Do they think she was? Do they think she's manipulating the system?
They do. They use the word crazy, but they think she's competent. And these were moms, very friendly neighbors of Lori's. They saw Lori. They saw her with JJ. They saw Lori with Chad and Alex at her apartment. They didn't see them every day, but enough casual passing and for them to get a vibe on Lori, a very legitimate one, if this is somebody that you're living across the way from. The neighbor also mentioned that when Lori left her blinds open, the neighbor could see that there were people in the kitchen of the apartment. So their conclusion was she's not mentally...
She's not delusional.
Not incompetent.
Mentally incompetent, yeah. She's delusional.
Yes.
I mean, Brandon Wilson was delusional. I mean,
but they didn't think that she was...
insane, or incompetent.
Yeah, insane as far as the legal term would go.
Yeah.
If that made any sense.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you want to see somebody who is, living out or living a murder, go see the video I put up with Brandon Wilson, where I interviewed him, okay? And he used me as the victim, okay? You'll get an idea and say, oh, that guy's insane. Well, that was his defense, okay? And he went up against, 5 or 6 psychologists, okay? And then, the prosecution put 5 or 6 psychologists in. And so they had all these psychologists, and of course they had a split decision, right? The prosecutor says they're sane, and the defense said he's insane. So obviously the judge ruled that he was sane, and he went to death row. But that's another case again. I don't want to digress. But Lori, in my opinion, is making very competent decisions. Now remember, she has to think and understand what the law is going to require of her is, did she know the decisions she was making were wrong? Okay. And then the second prong in that test is, did she know that society thought it was wrong? Okay. So the fact that she chooses Yellowstone, okay, as a place, a destination, the fact that she chooses to leave Arizona to come to Idaho as a destination, the fact that she chooses to go to an ice cream parlor 15 hours before her own daughter is going to be slaughtered, okay, all of these factors are going to come into play in her competency. Okay? I have faith that the system's going to work for justice for these children. Okay. So that said, and I don't want to get too far down into the weeds. The crime scene, what were impressions? Well, first,
let me start off on that. So when we drove out to CHAD Daybell's property, yes, it's and you saw in the video. And if you haven't seen the video, please go back. We've got drone footage of the property in the area. And
Dillan did a great job.
He did an excellent job. He really did.
Yep.
We're so grateful for him. You can really see that the Daybell property, while it is in a rural area. It is on a very busy street, a very busy roadway. And surrounding the property, I was really kind of shocked at
Can you
how.
stop that right there, Dill?
Oh, yeah. Why don't we?
No, go ahead. Just finish your
Well, we're looking at
description.
something specific right there. But just let me back up just for a second. The property, I was surprised that you can see everything from the road. And it actually is on an intersection. So there's two different roads you could go on and view into the property while you're on public land, public property, not on theirs. So what do I mean? I mean that the fence is not a high, tall fence. Okay. You drive by this house, you could see everything in the backyard. For me, that was the most, I guess, shocking in a way, because this is where the children were buried.
Yeah.
And
it's holy ground
and burned.
Now today, I mean, it's evil ground, but for those children right now, you know, that was a resting place for them through horror. And at some point, hopefully, when they're released to the family, they can have an honorable burial. My assumption is that they're being held by the ME's office, for other forensic testing, to be honest with you. So I'm sorry the Eastons are having to experience, having to wait. This is just horrific. And Half Rudder, thank you. Yeah, she has been. Totally agree with you. And I know that, there are timelines of all the people that have dropped around her. There's no question. And, her son, Colby, and all the other, other people around her who, saw the horrific things that came out in this particular case. So one of the things I want to talk about in this crime scene. So Dillan, can you put that up for a second, but freeze it? Hey, so when one of the agents, the FBI agent, testified, one of the things I want to point out here for everybody as we take a look at this, and I'm speaking from as a retired homicide detective, where there were a couple of tools that are utilized when you have a critical incident like this. Okay, the first thing, obviously, is some of the forensic stuff, forensics evidence that came forward. The tower pings, the cell phone pings, and we have those pings and the timelines up on the premiere video we just put up. So you can go in there and see the actual tower timeline. But it puts Alex in the backyard, and my thinking is, if these children, as horrific as this crime scene is, because I get it, there are a couple of tools that they needed to utilize. One of them is what they call a FARO, F-A-R-O, and you'll hear the FBI agents testify to that. And what that is, it's a 3D scanner that sits up on a tripod. So when you have a crime scene that's this massive, and that you potentially could have secondary scenes, okay? So you actually have 4 or 5 scenes on this piece of property. You have the Tammy Daybell shooting incident up front. You have JJ's burial area over to the right by the tree. You have the fire pit over to the left there, and then of course you have Tylee's burial area just to the right of the fire pit here. Okay, so in order to document that correctly, okay, you have to have a couple of tools, and one of them is a FARO. Okay, F-A-R-O. Go, if you get a chance, go look it up. Okay. The second is what they call a total station. Okay, and a total station is kind of one of these overlooked type of tools. Okay, but what it is, it's used to take measurements for excavation. So it basically, you take measurements of layers. Okay, of layers, and so what? If that's the case, and that's right, there's another scene inside, probably the residence, where that's number 5. So you're going to have all of these moving parts, okay? And so these tools are going to be critical, and we're going to see some very high-tech scientific tools come to play in the trial here, okay? Now, why do I say that? Because they're going to be able to overlay all of those tower pings over all of those 3D imaging and all of the different layering imaging that they're going to come up with, okay? So that's going to put the parties in play. It potentially could put CHAD over by the tree, okay, where he's shooting the raccoon type of situation. What were you going to say, hon? What were you going to say?
No, it's fascinating, and I love hearing this explanation. So keep going about it. Because let's tell everybody what they're looking at again. So again, this is on CHAD Daybell's property in the backyard.
Yeah.
When you see the tree off to the right, again, tell us. It looks like a dug pit.
Yeah, it does,
right,
but it's been expanded, obviously, and a lot of this has been backfilled. But you can clearly see where Tylee was laid to rest, and then the horrific manner in which that occurred, and then where JJ is over there. And what's interesting, grave one is what they call where JJ. The first thing they noticed while excavating this, and by the way, this is an actual archaeological dig. When you do this correctly, I have the utmost confidence that this FBI team and the Rexburg PD and the Sheriff's Department, they absolutely followed the book on this particular case. When I heard that agent testify, Daniels, he was checking all of the boxes. So an evidence play here for the defense is going to be a very difficult play, because I think they know that they locked him in and they got him pretty solid here. And that's why I think the competency knows that, man, we better go after the competency side of this here, because we're not going to have a play on the evidence side. So what are the first things they see? That when you do, whenever you do what this type of dig, the first thing they noticed was the roots of the trees were disturbed. Okay, now that told them right away, okay, this isn't fresh ground; it's disturbed ground. Okay, and this is over by the tree there where they first found JJ. He was number one. And then, of course, they come across boards. Then they come across some stones, and it looks like the stones were perfectly were set there in a specific order. We'll get to that later. There's some correlation to Chad's past history on that stuff, and then so they start to remove some of these items. But two of the things I wanted to point out: number one, garbage bags, okay, black bags and white bags. There were two bags that were utilized. Okay, one of them the white bags had the diamond shape on them. Okay, so what they will do, and what we have done in the past, is you will go to the manufacturer. Okay, and if you can find the box that those bags are connected to, you can get numbers off of those boxes, and then you can trace those numbers back to their distribution points of any area where those items may potentially have been distributed. If that's the case, then what we used to try to do is go back to the stores and see if there was any video footage of individuals purchasing those bags and or receipts showing those bags at the time of purchase. Go ahead, Ellen.
I don't know about everybody out there, but I find that fascinating. I love the fact that there is a trail, that there are breadcrumbs to go back to be able to piece this together. And, we don't think about that, but I'm sure the investigators in this case have jumped through every hoop, and have hopefully crossed the T's, dotted the I's, and, to be able to find trash bags and be able to, now, let me ask you this. Let's say they aren't able to find out that, let's say Chad or Lori went to Walmart and bought some trash bags. It's still on his property.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They still have all the other evidence.
Yep.
So it sounds like it's a great piece to have, but not critical if they can't do it.
Yeah, no, it's a no-brainer. They've got him. I mean, you can't have an aha moment and say, wow, how did these get back? How did these two get back there? Okay. Now that JJ was all black plastic with duct tape. Okay. As horrific as that sounds. Okay. Now, from an evidentiary factor, okay, that's good news, because there could be touch DNA on either side of that duct tape. Okay? And if they get touch DNA off of that duct tape, and that's probably one of the reasons why it's taking so long, okay, to release the bodies, okay, because they're processing it probably very meticulously, and it could take even up to a year to do that. Okay? So, have faith, Miss Easton, that at some point, okay, that you can get fingerprints off of that duct tape, believe it or not. It's called the Bordeaux method. Okay? And the gal who actually created that method sits on our team on the Cold Case Foundation, and we've done it for other smaller agencies that didn't have the resources, but the feds can do it, and let's just pray that they're doing that. Okay, so anthropologist was there, and then of course they moved over to a 10 by 10 area where they excavated, and this is where they find Ty Lee the second, and we're going to answer your questions. So don't worry, we're gonna get to your questions. And Dylan, please keep an eye on. I see some of these questions coming up. We're going to get to those. I just want to get to this couple of pieces here. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't want to go into too much of that, but.
So let's just clarify for a second. So the tree that everybody sees is right there, and then we've got where the FBI and everybody and they excavated.
Yep, over the right, where JJ's
grave was on.
Yep.
This side or that side?
It was just to the right of the tree there.
Okay, of what we're looking at.
Right, and then of course you can see Ty Lee's is, if you look at that, Dill, can we zoom in on that little fence-looking thing? If you look straight to the right of that fence, you'll see a square patch there, right there. That is where that young lady was put in there. So okay, so also search warrants. They did search warrants on January 3rd for LG cell phones, and they recovered a phone that was found in the bedroom. So now that I've heard one or two things, it could have been a burner phone, but that's okay. Okay, because even if it was a burner phone, there is a way of trapping some of that information back. And then the second piece of that was some of the other phones. They utilized a product called Celebrite. And what Celebrite does, you heard the agent testify, but what that does is it gives an entire phone dump. So I'm not going to go into too much on that because I don't want to tip, I don't want the bad guys to know.
Do you want to take
most
a minute?
Important piece?
Yeah, let's talk about the wind.
Yeah.
Again, in the video piece that you saw before, and if you haven't had a chance, please go back and watch it. Chris talks about the wind and what we know about what Alex and Chad searched on the internet for before the crime happened.
Yep. So we talked to some avid hunters in that while we were there. And everybody had this idea. And by the way, shout out to JM. Love you guys. And thank you for taking us around. By the way, these guys grew up there from birth. And I'm not going to name them. But that said, the wind, one of the thoughts that kept coming up was, what if Tammy mistook the sound of a silencer for that of a paintball gun? Okay. Now, if you've ever heard a silencer and it's shooting, that type of round, a 5.6, okay, it sounds just like a paintball gun. Okay? And when I saw the FBI out there with their metal detectors on the side of where she was at, okay, and where the suspect possibly shot her from, or shot at her from. Okay, I had to ask myself, holy cow, what if in fact this was a modified AR-15? And you'll see, in the video that we just played, how they do that. Okay, there's some language in there about how they do that. What if this was a modified AR-15 with a silencer, and she just mistook it as a paintball gun, which, anybody who didn't know very easily could have done that. And that was actually brought to my attention by one of my friends who said, hey, what if they were trying to shoot at her from the field initially? And that's why all the searches were important in terms of drop and, round type and shooting through a Dodge Dakota. Okay. Well, you'll notice in the backyard there was a Dodge Dakota truck. Okay. So immediately we started thinking of, holy cow, what if, they were going to wait for her to get in that truck and then try to, take her out that way. But either way, that first attempt on her life, in my opinion, based on the fact that they're searching for shell casings, okay, was her life. She was lucky. He missed her. Okay, whoever that was, it's probably Alex, but I don't know. It could have been Chad. I don't know. Okay? At this point, I don't know. At this point, okay? Either way, they missed her. Okay. And now the second piece of this puzzle is, if you stand anywhere on this property, even in the front of the house, there is a south by southwest wind that blows through that property that carries everything out into that field. So when they were, committing the crimes in the backyard and utilizing that fire pit, all of that scent was going the opposite direction
and by the way,
the houses around.
And there's a huge empty field, so it's not like it would have blown into anybody's backyard because there are no neighbors on that side. It's worth pointing that out.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's so the wind. It is a south by southwest wind, and I talked to people who were born there, and they took me out there and said, "Stand here, and you'll get an idea." And sure enough, man, they were right. And now, the only other time it could change is if it went, southwest, but it doesn't come the other direction. So that said, so let's go back and Dill, let's see if we can grab some questions from everybody. I apologize that I've been kind of doing a narration here.
The one other thing I would add is when we were out there, and then we were filming, somebody came to the door to see what we were doing there. We were on public property. We were on the public road. We weren't on their property. And I think we both saw this and felt this. When you go there and you know what took place in the backyard, where the kids were buried, of course in the house where Tammy died, I saw in the chat earlier, somebody said, how could anybody live there? Well, we know these are Chad's kids who are living there, but that is a very strong sense that you get even just driving by, knowing what has gone on in the home and in the backyard. But yeah, we saw several cars there on different days that we were filming outside in the area. And that just goes back to that whole point of what you were mentioning in the video about that evil was lurking there. Yep. I mean, it's just so heavy knowing of what took place in this backyard. And it's not, a half mile in from the road. You can stand on public road and see it for yourself. Yeah. So that was
Yeah, and I think
Crazy.
the impact of that, to the community is still there, and it's going to linger for a very, very long time. I hope at some point they mow it down and they make it a memorial to those children. At some point. So, Dylan, let's go back and grab the super chat questions too, okay, pal? But Stacy says, do you think Lori moved to Rexburg and forced Chad to step up Tammy's death? What do you think,
Could be.
Yeah, I think
Could be.
I agree. I think she she picked it up. Obviously, we know she was ordering wedding rings. And by the way, if you gave a super chat, just don't give another one. Just highlight what you did. I've got one here from Women of Steel. Thank you so much. And put it back up, and I'll answer it. So I apologize. Dylan's telling me we can't go back to all of them, but if you did, I do not want to miss you. Okay, and forgive me, for doing so far. Okay, what are your opinions of the difference in how the kids' bodies were treated after their deaths, including their burials? Interesting question. Well, I think that JJ's obviously wasn't a threat, but I think Tylee was a threat. Okay? And so some of that, overkill, okay, was, and she, by the way, would have been much easier to find because of her age, in terms of she left a trail in her life. Okay, JJ having autism, okay, and the fact that he was, who he is, okay, he would have been easier, obviously. Now, what's interesting is excluding the fact that there was some horrific things done to Tylee. Okay, they, both of them were wrapped in significant ways. Okay, Tylee more than JJ, and the reason for that, obviously, is they were more concerned about forensics evidence on her than they would have been with him. So he was a quick target. My gut tells me, and he was taken out quickly, and she was a much more difficult challenge. Ms. Sophia, I don't know how to go back and highlight. Oops, I asked you what happened to Tylee's phone. Did they retrieve hers? Great question. I don't have that answer. I do not know if Tylee's phone was recovered. And then we've got, thank you, Modge. This is all our Modge. When you spoke to neighbors, did any of think Chad may have had a part in the death of the neighbor that passed away during that time? It's a great question. We didn't grab that information. We are still chasing some stuff down, and that is in our bucket. So I don't have the answer to that just yet, Fuzzy Doxy. But thank you for that question, and thank you so much for putting your question back up again. I'm grateful for that. Alicia, wasn't Tylee due to inherit from her father? Yeah, great question. Yeah, great comment. You're right. Yep. Okay. Which obviously Lisa or Lori was a little, even still, couldn't put that piece together. Okay, let's see. Tylee's cell phone was with Lori in Hawaii and was sending texts from it to Colby from Tylee. There you go. All right. So the phone, the question is, where is it, right? But they have all of that. That technology through Celebrite has gathered all that intel, I guarantee you. Carol Loving. So how long after Charles was shot did Tylee go missing, or was last seen, since she was more than likely witness to the shooting of Alex? Well, that's a great question, but what we learned when they were checking into that apartment, neighbors all reported they never saw her.
And that was August. That was August 2019.
Yeah.
When Lori moved into that apartment.
Was it August? Yeah. Yeah, I got to look at the timeline.
Let's
Okay.
take another question. From Pauline. Did Lori transfer Tylee's Social Security benefits to her account before or after Tylee died?
I don't have that answer. I don't have that answer. Do you know that answer?
I don't.
And Pauline, that's a great question.
I'm sure it's out there.
But I do not have that answer. And there are more super sleuths than me, that's for sure. So if somebody has that answer, let's see if we can get that answer up. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, read that one. Wendy.
Wendy, do you think it's possible that Tylee was taken straight to Alex's apartment and held there or even killed in his garage?
Yeah.
We do, especially after going there and seeing this, because it would have, that timeline would have added up.
Yeah, Laura Gillette tells us August 16th is when they moved in.
Yep.
So yes, Wendy, I agree. I agree with Karen that absolutely. Yeah, that is in play. That is definitely in play here. Yep. Yep. What else you got, Dill? Anything? Why didn't Chad's kids question their mother's death? Well, I don't know if we don't know that.
Yeah, I don't think we know either way.
Yeah, I definitely think that was one of them that stepped out of the house. I was hoping they'd come out, to be honest with you, to chat it up a little. But I
would say at least authorities exhumed her body.
Yes.
And performed an autopsy.
Yeah, let's hope that they put all those pieces together.
Right.
Another bingo card. And by the way, did you see our new emojis? I think we have a bingo card now.
We do. We have a bingo card.
Bingo emoji. So I'm going bingo card 100 on that. Tammy will also find justice and others. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's going to be some type of poisoning efforts here with these victims that mask, heart issues or something to the effect that's going to stop the heart. I mean, for all I know, it could be a methadone intoxication, because unless you check for methadone, usually right after, death. But interesting thing about that particular and some of the other opioids, they leave markers in the blood. And so if they have tissue or if they have anything, blood vials, which they typically will pull, if they have those, then you can do a blood marker count on if there was some type of poison and or methadone or heroin or anything like that. Any intoxicating drug, Oxycontin, believe it or not, as well, leaves a blood marker that the ME can test for. Could the ice cream from Yellowstone have been drugged? That is a great point. Shame and Carmichael, man.
Well, if it was, it would have had to occur in Alex's car.
Yeah, but they would have been out of service on the way home.
Yeah, especially if he ran in and got it, and you could come up with your own scenario of how that could have happened, but it could have, or at least something to make him drowsy.
Man, but
wow, that's a super.
That is a
question.
Keeper, dude, or dudette, whoever you are. We love you. Good job.
Shame and Carmichael.
Wow. Good. The Last Supper, Yellowstone. Yeah. What do you think the purpose of Yellowstone trip was? I think it was to lower. Their anxiety. To bring them down and put them in a posture of comfort. Go ahead.
I think there's also that theory or that idea that maybe they were going to try to kill the kids and do it in Yellowstone, but realized, it's a really very busy national park.
Yeah.
That there's a lot of park rangers, and you can't just go drive off any old road you want. It just doesn't happen, especially in the busier months. And in September of 2019 would have been a very busy month. Yeah. So that's just a thought or a theory out there too.
Yeah,
out there as well.
Sandy Lee, asking if the ME can figure out Tylee's state of death. And thank you so much, Sandy, for putting it back up. I'm so grateful to you. So there's yes and no. So there's two problems. Number one is temperature. Okay, there's variances during the decomposition process that have to be taken into consideration. So the fact that it was in the wintertime potentially cold, that is also going to be a big variance. Now the plus side to that is it wintertime? Okay, and there could be some of those temperature variances could still be well within side of that encapsulated the bag those bags. That could change the temperature volume within those bags, which then, of course, they can try to pinpoint, an approximate time frame. There's the University of Tennessee in out of the Nashville area has what they call the body farm. Okay, and you saw that Daniels, the FBI agents, the evidence guy, testify that he had gone through that course. It's a pretty extensive course where they take investigators, and we actually got you get to go out there and actually watch and see how the whole process takes place, and it's pretty extensive. So that could be a clue that maybe they're trying to think the way you're thinking as well. Louisiana girl, love you. Love you all. We love you too. Thank you. And everything you do. What are your thoughts on Zulma and the immunity agreement? Happy Father's Day. Well, that could be man, she could roll. She could roll. Maybe they're rolling her on the other side to use her as a state witness. And so we'll see how that's going to play out.
We'll have to stay tuned on that one.
Yeah. Let's see here. Charlotte, you want to take that one?
Sure. Zulema gets immunity very fast, and there's no one talking about her. Can she be prosecuted for anything now?
Well, if they're dropping the immunity on her, then she's going to have to, talk like a hummingbird, very loud, okay, and very quickly. And if she goes back on her deal, okay, then if they're going to hold it over her, that they'll prosecute her and drop the whole play. Now, that could be the key to unlocking what the chemical was utilized in not only Alex's death, but Tammy's and potentially others. And it may be, one other consideration, it could have been used on the children. Just now thinking through what Carmichael brought up, did they drug the children through the ice cream at the ice cream parlor? That is, pretty interesting. That's an interesting theory. It's all speculation right now, of course, until we hear, what the courts are going to say. But I personally had not considered that, at the ice cream parlor too. I just saw it. So good for you guys for catching that. Good thought. What else we got, Dill? Thank you, Charlotte. Appreciate you. Okay. So, couple of things. Looks like, here comes another one. Losing. That's the same one.
We already had that one.
Happy Father's Day. Thank you.
Thanks, Louise.
Happy Father's Day to everybody. And shout out to all of my family. I'm going to give a shout out to JM. Love you guys. And then, of course, let me see here.
I think you already did that.
I know. Okay. Well, anyway, all my cousins.
Again.
All my cousins.
We love all the cousins.
We've got all of our cousins on here. Jimmy, Lisa, Shane, Dane, Dan, Riley, Aunt Bitsy, love you. Diane, Allie, Joel, Robbie, Bob, thank you. Love you guys. Miss you guys. If you guys didn't know, my parents were from the Boston area, so that's where all of that comes in. I got some crazy cousins. Love them to death. We have some really good times, that's for sure. So what else we got here, Dill? What other kind of questions we got coming in? All right. Was this good for everybody? We hope that everybody had a great Father's Day this day, and that if you haven't called your father yet, give him a phone call. Tell him how much you love him. Dads are really important, but moms are, twice as important. And
dads are very, very important.
This young lady here, is a superstar. She's taking care of our little ones, and we're grateful for that. And so,
and we're grateful for all of you.
Yeah, very much.
Our TIR community is incredible. We are so grateful for all that you do for us, for supporting us, tuning in every week, sharing our videos, liking our videos, commenting, everything. We couldn't do this without you. We're so grateful you all are along for the journey with us.
Yep.
And we're
We're not done.
We're crisscrossing the country.
We're not done. We're
doing.
We've got
going
Maya.
a lot of different places.
We've got Maya, and by the way, I've got his response. Okay, and we're gonna break that down coming up. Okay? And then we've got, of course, Brian McKenzie. I always want to remember that young man in Jackson, Tennessee. I talked to his mom today. And by the way, guys, when I make a commitment, Karen knows, she'll tell you, I'm on it. I'm on it. Okay. And then, of course, we've got, Kelly in Florida. Do not forget Kelly Brannon. We need to find that guitar. And in Brian's case, we need to find his car. He's got a Jeep, and AWP just did a big segment on it. I've got some stuff coming up that we did a while ago. And then, oh, by the way, I spoke to Echo Lloyd's daughter day before yesterday, and some other of her friends. So,
and for people who don't know, tell us when she disappeared.
So Echo Lloyd vanished on Mother's Day, the same day that Barry said Suzanne went on a bike ride. Okay.
So that would have been May 2020. Yep.
And so she is also another case that we need to, start taking a look at. She left her everything at her house. Her sweet daughter went over to try to get, to say, Happy Mother's Day. And there was some guy in the area that I'm familiar with. I'm doing a little deeper dive on it. And we'll see where, if we can, maybe behind the scenes even help. We'll have to see where that's going to go there. We know that other people are falling into place. Love to Richard and Mary Chris. Keep moving. Where we're headed here. The Chula Vista PD's on it, guys. I promise you, they're on it. They're doing great things. We do not want to, forget about Maya Daly. They're out there even today searching. And they did a couple of shifting. They're out at Glamis right now doing some searching, as well as some other things that are going on. So don't forget these wonderful human beings. They deserve a voice, and if we can give them a voice on this platform, then that's what we'll do. Yep. What else am I missing?
Thank you all for being here. And if we didn't shout you out on your super chats, thank you so much. We're grateful for all your support. We couldn't do this without you guys. So thank you.
We absolutely love you guys. And if you haven't subscribed, please just subscribe. If you can't become a member, that's okay. Okay, it's more about you being here. Our platform is open to any questions or anybody, with or without a super chat. Okay, we're just grateful that you're here, and we're thankful that we can help. I am the director of law enforcement relationships for the Cold Case Foundation, which is an international foundation of over 100 seasoned investigators and researchers. John Douglas, who wrote the book Mindhunter, and the movie Mindhunter is and the TV show is based on, was our executive director, and currently now Greg Cooper is our executive director, and Greg was a protege of John's when John ran the behavior science unit at the FBI, and then Greg and others, Mark, and then of course Mary Ellen O'Toole. So we have a lot of resources, and if your family is in need, go to the Cold Case Foundation. Just look us up. There is a sheet that you fill out, fill in some of the particulars, spread the word. We're grateful to help if we can. Okay? And then simultaneously, if you have a law enforcement agency that's looking for some assistance from a team of very, very experienced investigators, have them reach out to the Cold Case Foundation. And if you're not a member of the Cold Case Live, go over there. I think it's like $1.99, but it supports the foundation, and there you get some inside stuff on some pretty cool stuff. I mean, we just solved the situation in Siberia, so
they do great work.
They do great work. And Keisha, thank you so much for being here. I know you're going to get my email address. Want to talk? I appreciate you. I'm seeing the chat go by. Love each and every one of you. Our mods can't do it without you. Aloha. Keep the aloha spirit in you, and let's continue to be nice to each other. Okay, Dylan, thank you for everything you've done today, son. Very proud of you. Okay, Mom, final word.
Thanks, everybody. We're grateful you're here. Have a great week.
Okay, take us out, bud.
Hard working every day, I'm stressed out 24/7, babe. No timeouts, wish we could fly away. You and I go to our favorite place. Oh yeah, make special memories together. I'll be your company now and forever. I say we fly away, you and me, go to our favorite place. Feeling the sun on my face in Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. I need a summer breeze